now you see her.
You are magnificent.
Welcome to Her Table, the podcast that shines a spotlight on the badass women who are redefining the game. Join hosts Kate Foley and Megan Martinez as they unlock the secrets of success from the brightest female pioneers in the industry.
Welcome back to another episode of Her Table. We are so excited to share another successful woman in sports, Bailey Jackson. She is chatting content, marketing, all things to come. She is her own content creator for her own platform. She graduated from Indiana University with a marketing degree, and then she started her own sports platform in 2022 and is working with some of the hottest companies on the market right now.
Bailey's marketing degree with a social media focus positioned her to launch her own version of sports reporting. She didn't wait for a seat at the table, she built her own table. She now resides in Chicago and reports on various sports.
I love that she built her own table and now she's going to be on Her Table. Bailey focuses on compelling narratives that capture the essence of each game and highlights the human stories behind them. I can't wait to hear more about her platform, what she's building, Bailey Jackson Sports, and hear how her marketing background has helped her stay in her unique content creating world. Let's get her on the show, Megan. Bailey Jackson, Her Table. Let's go.
Bailey, thank you so much for joining us today. I know we spoke a little bit before this, but you went to Indiana University. And was it University of Indiana or Indiana University?
Indiana University. Yep, you got it.
Indiana University. Okay, I was like, wait, is that? You worked a little bit with their athletic department, and then you had that marketing degree, and now you've transitioned to sports. Can you kind of, take us through that and, what made you want to get into marketing and then now kind of transition into the content world and how your marketing background has helped you grow in this new world?
Yeah, for sure. Well, one, thank you for having me. I appreciate being here today. But yeah, my journey, it was honestly a little bit of a up and down path. I came to IU with the intention of majoring in marketing, or at least being in the business school. Finished my freshman year, got an internship that was more corporate marketing, and I liked the job, but I didn't love it, and I wanted something that provided a little bit more just excitement and adventure on a day-to-day basis. And I saw a friend of mine, she was doing some sports reporting in Indianapolis. She was a journalism major. I was like, okay, what she's doing looks really cool. Like, maybe I should try that. So I ended up doing 2 internships that summer, the one with the corporate marketing one, and then another one with the same exact company that she was working with. Finished that summer, I was like, okay, I think this is what I want to do, like go into sports reporting in some way, shape, or form. Initially, I was thinking it was sideline reporting. So I came back to IU, started working with the Big Ten Network Student U there, and was covering wrestling matches. Unfortunately, COVID hit that same semester I was doing that. So I was sent back home and I was like, okay, well, what can I do at home? What can I do kind of in this virtual period? It's like my junior year was completely virtual. Was introduced to a couple different agencies, one of them being Athletes First. And that was my first experience doing social media for any type of sports related platform, whether it was an agency or whether it was more media based. And I loved doing that. So I was like, okay, maybe there's some way I can combine sports reporting and social media. And it wasn't until after I graduated, this is kind of a totally separate crazy story in itself, but I had a job lined up with Oracle. 6 weeks into it, the whole program that I was a part of ended up being dissolved. So then I was out of a job 6 weeks into it, and 1 month after graduating school, and I was like, you know what, this is the perfect time to start some type of sports page, utilize my social media background and knowledge, utilize the sports reporting skills that I've built up to this point, and I created Bailey Jackson Sports. So that's kind of how I got here. It's been now a year and a half since I started my page. So it's been an insane journey from start to finish, but I wouldn't change any part of it.
That's amazing. So you went to school, you said, I want to work in sports, but I'm not sure where. And I think that is so common right now. And so many people are like, I want to work in sports, and they are like, I want to do this. But then there's 50 other opportunities that you're not even aware of that require that one position to have that kind of support. did you grow up like watching sports? Were you like, I want to do this when I was younger? Or were you kind of just like, hey, let me try a couple things and you found something that you really loved that stuck?
Yeah, I mean, it was a combination of both. Like, I did grow up watching sports. I grew up playing like just about everything you could think of. My dad was a big influence when it came to like having ESPN on all the time, or just like 30 for 30, or like Real Sports with Brian Gumbel was like always on. And I always enjoyed watching those shows. Like, it was so fun to me. But it wasn't anything that I was consciously thinking about as a kid. Like, oh, I want to be, doing that when I'm older, or like even just looking at like sports reporters as like idols, or it was like, oh, I want to be them when I'm older. Like, that was never really a thought that crossed my mind when I was younger. It was really once I got to college when I like found out, okay, hey, I'm going to try this, I like it, I'm going to continue trying things and see where this goes.
That's incredible. And it's something that's so special because, especially this day and age, social media is huge, and like always coming up with content is big. What's your process? You cover a lot of sports. Right now we're in the NFL season, NBA season, it's a good time. How do you approach each of your videos that you create? And are you focusing on one specific sport, or you're just covering them all?
I'm kind of covering a little bit of everything. I never want to put myself into a box of like, oh, she's the football girl, or like, oh, she's the basketball girl. I want to be as well versed as possible. And that was initially my goal when I started. It was like, Bailey Jackson Sports was really supposed to be no more than like a means of me just continue to develop my skills. So when that like time did come where I could get like an ESPN type of job, they'd be like, oh, okay, she's qualified. So with that in mind, I was like, okay, like I said, not going to limit myself to just a couple sports or just one sport. Like, I'm going to know a little bit about everything. And when it comes to picking the content that I talk about on a day-to-day basis, it's really just a mix of kind of scanning through social media, seeing what people are talking about, seeing what storylines are trending, but what storylines may be going unnoticed as well, and hitting on those topics. I'll watch ESPN like all day long. I have it playing in the background while I'm working. And sometimes it's like a little bit of word to mouth. People will text me or like, reach out to me via DMs and be like, hey, have you seen this? And I'll be like, yes, or, no, like, thank you for sending this over. I appreciate it. So that's kind of what the process looks like. It's really just like a mix of a lot of different resources, people reaching out, me just finding stuff on my own.
Yeah.
How long does it take you to, how long does it take you to create these photos? Like, everyone thinks social media is easy.
Yeah.
Like, it's easy, make these reels, do this. Megan and I always joke, we're terrible at this. Like, we're literally, please teach us, Yoda. Like, we need a class.
Yeah.
How long does, a 30-second reel, be honest, take you to kind of edit, cut, and put to market? Because I think it's an underserved awareness of how much time and energy you have to put into that to push out something of that, magnitude or length.
Yeah, it really honestly depends. Like, in all honesty, I can sometimes crank out videos in like 20, 30 minutes. But if it's a video that I may be working with a company, partnering on, and, I'm like doing the script or, writing the deliverables, sending it over to them, they gave me the feedback, I film, edit, there may be notes to make, and then there's final approval. That could be days. It really just kind of depends on like what's the nature of the video. So like I said, for my own content, it can be really quick and really easy. And, sometimes for branded content, it just takes a little bit longer.
And for you, so you've worked with companies like FanDuel, Whistle Sports, like you're kind of working with a lot of companies, which is so cool. How did you connect with them in the first place? Was it them reaching out to you after seeing the work that you've done? And also that's incredible just to even have, these big companies, working with you. I think especially with your brand, it's not like it's, a company or whatever, but it's like you and your sports and your channel and your content.
Yeah, no, I'm so thankful to be in the position to work with the companies that I get to work with. And fortunately, they reached out to me. I haven't really done any type of heavy lifting. And it's crazy too, because it's like at a time, like FanDuel reached out to me back in July. I think I started working with them in September. And around July, I don't think I had like anywhere close to 10,000 followers. I was maybe at like 6,000, 7,000. So in my mind, I'm like, why does FanDuel want to work with me? And on TikTok, I had like a little bit more, maybe like a little over 20K. But even then, it's like some of their other creators had like 50K or like, 100K, just like ridiculous numbers that like I just wasn't hitting yet. So I'm like, again, like, why does FanDuel want to work with me? But yeah, again, like blessed to know that they saw value in me and wanted me to be a part of what they're doing. And I'm glad that I can, provide a different form or, just another form of content to their platform. And like same for Whistle, same for DAZN. It was like very similar circumstance. They found me organically, and the partnership's been, great up until, this point. And going forward, I still think that continue to flourish, and I know I'm excited to see what other brand deals come out of the content that I've been putting out so far.
Are you nervous to put yourself out there from a content side? It's you are the face of your company, right? Like your name is the company, your face is the company, which, I mean, you're how old? Tell me how old you are, Bailey.
I'm 23.
Yeah. Okay. 23, killing it with her own company. Like, let's just say what it is. Okay. I mean, that's amazing. Like, girl,
thank you.
Keep on. Like,
thank
go.
you.
Yes. Run. Yes. Do. Is it hard for you because, are you wanting to grow or are you wanting to define? And I ask that question because growth oftentimes comes with a release of power, and define comes with probably you're going to stay in a space that's a little bit safer. So which for you with Bailey Jackson Sports are you looking forward to?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think if you asked me that probably like 3 to 6 months ago, I would have had a completely different answer. A lot of my videos used to be voiceover. I was kind of afraid to show my face, didn't really feel too comfortable in front of the camera. But then I realized that there's strength in putting a face to a name, and I didn't want to continue walking around like, maybe somebody like really loves my content, but then they see me on the street and they don't know who I am, or they don't know that, I'm the Bailey Jackson behind Bailey Jackson Sports. And it's like, I also want that recognition for my work too, as being like, hey, like that's the girl that does those videos. So I got some advice from someone, basically saying that I should start doing more on camera stuff, and took it to heart and just realized it's like, okay, it's time to muster up the courage and just do it. If I don't like how I look, all right, fine, whatever. Like I'm just going to put it out there. Like if, I didn't do my hair right or my makeup doesn't look great that day, like whatever, it's not that big of a deal. Like, people are caring more about what I say as opposed to what I look like. And that was another thing that I just had to kind of get over too. So, with that in mind, it was really more of a growth thing for me. Is like, I want people to recognize who I am, the face behind the brand, or, the face behind the voice. And I knew that was going to lead to more opportunities as well. As like my end goal, or at least my long-term vision for what I want to do in my career, is ultimately end up in more of a traditional media role, or at least in like a hosting space. So it's like, most of the time those are on camera positions, right? So yes. It's like, knowing that that's where I want to be, I'm like, okay, well, I got to start somewhere, So it was, I think, a combination of those two things that like got me to kind of be in this more growth mindset as opposed to define mindset. And, I'm hoping it continues to be that way.
Oh, that's amazing. They say too, It's like, content I always hear content creators, and I want to get your thoughts on this, is just put it out there. If one person watches or a million people watch, just put it out there. If you have something to say or you want to share and you want to inspire, do it. I think, props to you for recognizing that like you needed to take ownership of what you're doing and put your face out there, because there are so many young girls watching that want to see your beautiful face, but also see who you are and then be like, wow, this is who this is. And I can be that, I can do that. And I think that's even for us on the show, right? Like that's one of the things we always talk about, is being open and vulnerable and allowing someone to celebrate you. And, you're going to have those people that have something not nice to say, and you have to, I'm sure you experience it more than us, but I'm always like, they're going to come for us if we say something about this or that. I'm like, whatever, like, pick a different day. But what has been one of your biggest challenges? You're young, you're beautiful, you're a female, and you're talking about men's sports. I would assume you probably had a couple no's and a couple challenges down your path. Can you tell us what a no was and what a challenge was?
Yeah, I would say the biggest challenge, you kind of hit on this in a second ago, is people having like mean things to say. There would be so many videos, especially early on, where people would be like, you don't know what you're talking about, or like, that's a stupid take. I remember this wasn't even too long ago. I want to say like maybe last month I posted a video and it got a decent amount of exposure. It was like maybe at least 100 comments kind of saying the same thing. It was like, women shouldn't like be talking about sports. Women have no place speaking on like men's sports. Or one of my personal favorites was women belong in the kitchen, or like you should just go back to the kitchen.
No.
Yeah, I'm like,
No.
literally? No, yeah, exactly.
Like 2024 now, like, come on, that's crazy.
I would be like,
Right.
I'll go, but you're not going to eat at my table. So
Right.
buck off, Buttercup.
No way.
Oh my
Right.
gosh.
Yeah.
How
So
did
it's
you
like,
handle that?
I mean, at that point, it's either you react or you don't. Like, you can't feed into what these people are saying. Because in my head, it's just like, okay, if you're sitting behind a screen saying nasty stuff about people, then like you're the problem and there's something wrong with you at that point. Because like if there's so much hatred in your heart where you have to like regress to that, then like, come on now, like I'm not feeding into that. Because a lot of people are just looking for reactions too.
Yes. Yes.
So
the
it's like,
setup. The good old
Right.
setup. Yeah.
exactly. So it's like, I'm not going to play into it. At the end of the day, like you can comment whatever you want. I may see it, I may not. That's another thing too. And like what I also tell people is like, regardless of if you're commenting something positive or commenting something negative, it's engagement at the end of the day.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's like, if you're
What's
saying,
that? Cardi B. Cardi B had that, like, when she won her first award, she was like, and I'd like to say thank you to all my haters because you guys downloaded the song too and paid me even though you hate it. So
No,
thank you
literally.
for that. Like, it's that same mentality. I
That's
love
awesome.
that.
At the end of the day, you're still giving me engagement.
right, like I'm making money off of you in
Yeah.
negative comments. Like, go ahead, say whatever you want. Like, this is just 100 more comments that's making me, X amount of money. Like, I don't care at that point.
Oh, I
So
love
that's
that.
how I handle it. I just don't do anything about it, honestly.
Yeah. That's great. And that's
you-
awesome too. Cause like being so young and like in this world of social media, like they can be so mean, like kids and like
Yeah.
not even kids, adults, like everybody, cause they're like hiding behind the screen. You're the one who's putting your face out there and they're the ones that are like typing. You're like, what the heck? But I guess from an interesting perspective is because you had that marketing background. Do you feel like that has helped you with your content today?
That's a good question. I don't know if I consciously think about like the impact that my degree or even like the classes that I took in school has on what I do now. I'm sure it does in some like way, shape, or form, but I'm just like not like consciously recognizing it. I mean, there was definitely like I took a digital marketing class at IU, and I can think of a few things that like because of that class, like I understand going into like social media analytics and like knowing what impressions means, or how to drive engagement, or like what engagement means in general, or like what's a good target audience, what's reach, just kind of understanding like industry standards as well. So I think that's probably the one thing that I can pinpoint that I'm like, okay, like thank you IU for that. Outside of that, I'd honestly like I don't know if there's like really much that I can like think about off the bat that I'm like, okay, yeah, I really see like a lot of my
Yeah.
educational background in my work.
You're like, it's all me. I'm doing it.
I mean, maybe.
What's been one of the hardest things that you've pushed up? I mean, you've pushed a lot of content up, and it's all, the world of sports and entertainment are threaded through the same needle, right? They go that way. What has been one of the most challenging videos to create or speak on, if you have one? Megan and I think all videos are challenging. All of them are hard to make. None of it. We don't get any
The
of them right.
consistency,
It's so
the
it's-
dedication, the time.
Megan, that's what I'm saying. I said earlier, I'm
impressive.
like, this is not like a just show up and it happens. Like,
Yeah.
you gotta do this shit. It takes work to cut and
Yeah.
edit and make it look good and not, you know what I mean? Like, it is, I don't even know how to do what she does. Like, zero concept.
I know.
Like, zero. Like, if you asked me to save my life to do it, I'd just be like, nah, I'm gonna fall down. It's all good. It's all good.
I totally get that. Honestly, from like an editing standpoint, I don't think there's like really been like a super challenging video that I can like think of off the bat. But in terms of a story to tell, there was a piece I did back in, I think it was like October, November of 2023, and 2022, and it was a story about a Coppin State basketball player, and this was like a very low key story at this point. It was maybe like, I think only circulating around like the Baltimore area. No one really knew about it on a national scale. And there was one other video that I'd seen on social media talking about it. And it was like very lengthy. And I was trying to figure out the best way to condense it, include all of the important details, but then also be respectful of the person that I was talking about, because it was a very personal story too. It was involving a basketball player that was kind of coerced into sexual acts with a manager on his team. And he was questioning his sexuality after that. So, I wanted to kind of be respectful of him and his circumstance, because he was still playing college basketball at that time too. He like transferred to a completely different school. And I don't know how many people knew about his story at his new school. So it was, getting this, now huge social media attention, and it's like, okay, where's that fine line of being like, okay, monitoring the comments, making sure those comments are respectful of him, respectful of the story, me being respectful of everything, but like still doing my due diligence to tell the story, kind of spread awareness and let people know what's going on. Because it was also a matter of like, hey, like this coach needs to be held responsible too. And I don't think at that time he was like facing any type of consequences aside from losing his job. So that was really my goal too. It's like, okay, Coppin State needs to be put on blast for this. This coach needs to be put on blast for this. The head coach needs to be put on blast too. But like, keep the player and the athlete in mind as well.
It's always sensitive, right? Because you report and you're telling news, but they're also people. And I think we hear that a lot from a lot of the media guests we have on, that sometimes it's difficult to share a story because it is a person and you're sharing it and you're trying to be respectful of that person, but also create awareness and a space for a conversation to be had.
Right.
You're young, you're beautiful. Have you had any challenges being a young, beautiful woman in this space as you built your company and as you wanted to create credibility and experience for yourself? Have you ever been in a situation where you might have, had you been a male, had an easier path, perhaps, or have you experienced an opportunity for a better situation to come out of someone not taking you kind of serious?
Yeah, fortunately, I don't feel like there's been any type of defining moment where I'm like, okay, I feel like I've been overlooked or like looked down on because I'm a woman in the business. But I definitely think that if I were to be a man in my role, like things would be a little bit easier, especially like circling back on some of those hate comments, that come through every once in a while. It's like people wouldn't be saying that if I was, a guy on the screen telling them the exact same thing. You know what I mean? Like they'd probably take him a little bit more seriously. But yeah, fortunately, like I don't feel like opportunities have been like passed or like they've come across, and they're like, oh no, like we're not going to choose her. We're going to choose someone else, like choose a guy or, anybody else over her. I mean, maybe that has been the case. I don't know, but I just personally haven't felt that way. I have gotten some questions where it's like, been very similar. It's like, do you feel like women are objectified in the role, or like do you feel like networks choose pretty faces over like actual talent? And it's like answering those questions have been interesting, and like putting myself in that those shoes too. Is like at the end of the day, entertainment is entertainment, and it's like, yeah, like people are going to be put in positions because they are trying to appeal to a crowd, and I think that's something to be conscious of. Even with me trying to step into a more traditional media role, is like, okay, am I being chosen because they like my takes, my content, my opinions, my thoughts, or is it because I look a certain way and fit this mold of, who they want in the position? So, we'll see if that's a bridge that I will ultimately have to cross, or, a battle that I'll ultimately have to face. But like I said, so far, I don't feel like that's really been a challenge for me thus far.
What about like for you dealing with sometimes the pressure of putting out good content? Because sometimes you hit the highs and you have like these great videos that you work so hard on and you get great traction. And sometimes you put in a lot of time and work and then your videos don't get the traction you expected them to get. Like, how do you deal with those highs and lows and that balance? And like, do you ever feel like, man, like I can't put out this stuff? Or do you like, I got to keep going, keep pushing my content out? And yeah, kind of handle the pressure, I feel like, because there sometimes can be pressure put on when you're putting out these kind of videos.
Yeah, no, totally. I literally experienced that this past weekend. I was like, in my head, I started the week with like 19.7 or 8,000 followers on Instagram. I was like, by Sunday, I want 20K. Like, I want to hit 20K. And I knew, I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to increase production or either get this like killer video that just like drives my following, right? So I was like all week, like, okay, like what can I do? Like, what do I need to put into this video to make it perform? Like, get people to comment, like, whatever, share. And those videos did well. Like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, like they didn't do great, but they didn't do the numbers that I wanted them to do. So, you know, it was one of those moments where I was like, okay, like it's not performing how I want, but like I'm putting the pressure on myself, you know what I mean? To like get that level of engagement or, you know, feedback that I want. And at the end of the week, like I hit my goal, which was great. But at the end of the week, I was like, all right, like I just need to take a step back. You know, it's like I was a little too hard on myself about that. Like it wasn't like I was, you know, under any type of like gun to my head, like you need to get 20K by Sunday. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I was doing all of that, like just, you know, it was me to me, you know, it was like kind of an unnecessary amount of pressure. So sometimes I have those moments where it's like, okay, like let's just take a step back. You know what I mean? Like content is not everything. Like yes, it is a huge part of me, but it's not my life. You know what I mean? Like there can be a day where I take a step back and I don't, you know, do a video, or maybe I just post a couple stories. That's it. But at the same time, consistency is key. So that's another thing that I do keep in the back of my mind. Is like, okay, like, yeah, take a day off. Like everybody needs a social media break, but like, we're going to get back at it the next day. And, you know, we're still going to, you know, keep a schedule and like stay consistent, because that's ultimately what's going to drive growth. And, you know, that's where I'm at right now, you know, with my platform is just, you know, wanting to continue to grow. So it's a fine balance of being gentle with myself and, you know, being like, it's okay. Like, you're fine. Take a break, you know, have that moment to yourself, have that me day, but then like, okay, like let's grind, let's get to work, you know?
We just had another guest on that was talking about it's your job, not your life, right? And I think as women, we are, I find myself being really gung-ho and driven to like, I have to do this and I have to do that and I have to do this, and putting these benchmarks, these like self-imposed benchmarks of either success or failure, right? And you know, I think as women, especially in sports and male sports, we feel like we have to do more than everybody else, right? Like we have to just keep going. And I think what you're saying is powerful, right? Which is you're putting that pressure on yourself, not us, not anyone else. And so I think that's fascinating for you at 23 to be like that self-aware that like, hey, I did that to myself, right? Like it wasn't anybody else saying that to you, and then putting that in perspective for the next time you do that. You're like, wait, I remember, aha moment, take that back and not do it. What has been one of the funnest things about starting this company? I mean, you're 23 with your own company. What has been the best part about this? Other than you're your own boss, like your own boss, that's like obviously the best part.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's the best part. Like having the freedom and flexibility to control like what I say, when I say, and how I say it. Like by all means, I don't want to be, you know, told what to do too much. But the best part, honestly, was recently, and I'm hoping that this will like continue into 2024. I went on my first brand trip, and it was with Meta to Vegas for the NBA in-season tournament. And that was just, it was so crazy because one, I didn't think Meta was in the cards for me at this stage in like my career, like where I'm at with my platform. I honestly thought like that was maybe like a year or more down the line. But a Meta rep found my content organically, and he was like, hey, let's set up some time. This is right before Thanksgiving. He's like, let's set up some time to chat after the holidays. So I shot him an email that same day. He's like, how would you like to go out to Vegas next week for the in-season tournament? I'm like, okay, like sounds great. In my head, I'm like, okay, I need to get a flight. I need to get a hotel. And I read through the email again, and I was like, wait, this is all covered. I was like, this is great.
I was going to ask, for those of us that want to know, okay, you get asked to go, what goes on this brand trip? They like, tell us the good, give us the tea of like, okay, they pay for this, that, the other. And then what was the experience and then the expectation on the other side?
Yeah.
Like they're having you come, not just to like freeload. Like there's a, sounds good, but you got to give something in. So what did they all cover? Like, how did that go about?
Right. So I guess from start to finish, everything was covered. Like I said, plane, hotel, they gave us a little bit of a stipend. So we didn't really have to pay for like food or Ubers or anything like that. it wasn't a trip where I was getting paid to go. So there wasn't any type of expectation that we were posting a bunch of content, but it was more of like, hey, we encourage you to. And they gave us a document of like, hey, this is like a content idea for before the tournament starts. And like, this is maybe what you could do while you're at the game and like, or after the game's over. So they made it really easy for us too. It's like, there wasn't a whole lot of thought that really had to go into it if you didn't want to. Of course, some creators were like posting all the time, and some creators were, you know, maybe a little bit more laid back about it. But it was so cool. We flew in on Thursday for the 2 semifinal games. They had us staying at the Bellagio, which was so cool because I knew nothing about Vegas. This was my first time going, but my dad was telling me like the Bellagio is one of the nicest places on the strip. So I was like, okay, like we're staying at the fancy hotel. I'm excited. And they had us in a suite for both of the games on Thursday and on Saturday for the championship. And it was pretty much like your traditional suite experience, like free food, free drinks, free alcohols. And then it was an opportunity to meet the meta team as well as the rest of the creators that were there. And this was honestly my favorite part because there were so many people from like so many different like walks of life. Like there was an orthodontist there, but he does TikTok content. And I'm like, okay, like how does your stuff overlap with sports? And he's like, well, I just like sports. And I was like, okay, that's cool. You had some like your OG TikTok girls. I remember like seeing them when like Charlie D'Amelio was super popular. It was like Avani and Maddie, they were there. And I was like, oh, like that's dope. Like y'all have been around for a minute. Like you're super popular on TikTok. And then that you had like your traditional sports, you know, content creators. But it was cool to experience this too, is like just looking at all the sports content creators. Like there's no one quite like myself and like my content. And I thought there were so many more people out there that were doing the same thing as me. And I'm sure there are, but it's just like in that space, I didn't see anybody like myself. So I was like, okay, that's cool. Like I feel like I'm unique in a sense, you know, kind of being the only one out here doing this style of content. But yeah, so that was Thursday. Friday, there was a brunch. It was in collaboration with Boardroom. So it was like Boardroom Threads.
Nice.
It was super duper fun. Like it was pretty much an industry event to its core. It's like agents, athletes, other reporters, like bunch of content creators there. You had some rappers that showed up, like Cameron and Mace were there. I was like, that's cool.
Nice, yeah.
And then Saturday was a championship game, very similar to Thursday. It was just kind of like a networking, sit down, chill, eat some food, watch the game type of experience. So overall, it was like 12 out of 10 for me. Like, I don't think I can go back to Vegas
do it
and
again.
have any better. 100%.
She's like, sign me up, brand. Here we go. What are your what are some of your favorite accounts that or people that you met? Like, what are some of your favorite accounts to follow? Or who is somebody that you walked away from that brand event? Like, okay, I have a new friend, but I also have somebody else to draw inspiration from.
So 3 people that come to mind. Maddie Hoops. She does a lot of content for Whistle. She, I think, technically works for Whistle, but she also has like her own platform. She was like my buddy for the week or the weekend. She's so amazing, super nice. Like we were very much in the same mindset of like, let's network as much as possible, like trying to meet people and just like also have a good time while we were there. But she makes like just a ton of amazing content. Brittany Elena, she's been in the game for a minute. She said that she started doing content in 2018 and hers is like mainly basketball focused, but she's got some like lifestyle, beauty, fashion in there as well. Super down to earth person. She introduced me to Shaq and just like gave me the most amazing
Isn't he
compliment.
enormous? He's enormous.
It's funny. He was sitting down when I met him, so I couldn't tell how like large he actually was.
No, he got you.
I know.
The legs. It's the legs, and then you're like,
right.
Yes,
right,
yes.
Yeah. I didn't get to see like the full Shaq experience, but yeah, so that was like an amazing experience too. Just like having her be there to like hype me up, and just she was another person that was like super willing to share her network. And then the last person, her name is Treasure Wilson. She is on a show called It Is What It Is. She kind of goes by the name Stat Baby. And she's new to Vegas. They filmed the like show in Vegas. She didn't really know a lot of people. I met her at the brunch, and we'd followed each other on TikTok for probably a good year at this point. And it was like an immediate connection where it's like, I follow you on TikTok. And she's like, I follow you on TikTok. And it just like instantly became friends. And she gave me like a lot of advice on being on a show, like hosting a show, and especially like knowing that's what I wanted to do, like having her input and feedback about like what that adjustment has been for her and like the things she loves, the things that maybe she would change. That was like, invaluable opportunity to like get to talk to her. All three people I still keep in contact with. So I was like, I feel like I can call them my friends. And yeah, I'm glad I had the opportunity to meet all of them.
That's amazing. And for you too, like, is that something you do, like where you're like reaching out to other content creators that you really like their work, and so you're like, trying to kind of learn from them, but then also put your own spin on things? I guess for you too, now that you're, been like a little over a year into this, how do you think, one, how you've grown since you started last year, and then how would you like to help other people that are younger, trying to get into this industry, trying to, put themselves out there? What would you say to them?
Yeah. I feel like I've grown a lot since like when I started. Honestly, I look back at some of my old videos. I'm like, this is trash compared to like what I'm doing now.
Stop. Give yourself grace. Give yourself grace.
You're right. But it's honestly like it's the honest truth. Like there needed to be some improvement there, and it's like that just comes with time. Like everything's gonna get better with time, right? So yeah, and that's like, again, kind of going back to what we talked about earlier, there's the whole purpose for me starting my platform was to like get better and, build on my skills, right? So like seeing that development has taken place and hopefully will continue to take place as I, step into new roles or even just continue on my own platform. That's rewarding to see is like, okay, like what I'm doing is paying off. I sound better. Like the tones, is makes sense for what I'm talking about. You can hear the vocal inflections. I don't have to read off a script. Like I'm memorizing stuff now. So I guess going into the second part of your question, what advice I would give to, younger individuals looking to step into like a similar role, or like, how I would motivate them. I just say, one, be yourself. Like whether it's sports content, whether it's lifestyle, beauty, like gaming, you're an outdoorsy person, like find what you like, whether it's, just an interest or, true passion, and just like have fun with it. Like if you enjoy it, you're gonna be more invested into the content side of things. Like it's not gonna feel like a job. It's just gonna feel like, hey, I'm doing this for fun. Like this is just a hobby. And at some point, like the other benefits, the monetization, the brand trips, like all of that, the PR, whatever, like that will just come in the future. You just find something, like be yourself, be authentic. That is like your biggest selling point. It's like nobody can be you. That is like what you were born with. That is your unique selling factor. So, just be yourself and do what you like. And if, you like it, other people will probably like it too.
Love that.
I love it. I love it. It's funny because content is so new. Like you grew up with content, right? It hasn't always been this way. And so I think, you're talking about there's an orthodontist that does TikTok and things like that. Constantly companies are having to evolve and change and adapt to new marketing strategies that are more towards their target consumer. Working with some of these companies, have you ever gotten feedback where it's like, hey, we need more of this, less of this, or do you have like free reign to do whatever content you want? Is it structured or not?
Sometimes it's structured. I will say, like for FanDuel, they're like, hey, do whatever you want. Like you have an idea, roll with it. Like of course they'll give me feedback and be like, hey, like you maybe switch up the intro a bit, or like we want a more engaging hook. I've had other companies that are like, all right, change this, and this, like kind of like basically scratch the whole idea, start over with, our feedback. Well, I think like a perfect common ground for me is like, all right, I'm going to give you my idea. Like I have free range of the idea and like the filming process, but then it's like, I do want feedback, right? Like come in and like be nitpicky. Like I want to grow and learn. And I also take that and apply it to my own videos, whether it's paid or not. It's like, I want to, learn how to get people in the first 3 seconds, because that's how, you keep a person from start to finish, right? Is that a more engaging hook? And, sometimes it's getting that feedback from companies, whether you like to hear it or not. Like constructive criticism is only going to make you better, as long as it's, coming from, a healthy place and like a caring place, right? So yeah, definitely taking the advice of, people that are willing to give it and, willing to, pour into me to make my content better, whether it's for their platform or not. I'm always an open ear and listening ear.
You develop a lot of content. One of our guests, India Wright, talked about how she would pour her heart and soul into something and sharing a story, because at the end of the day, you really are telling a story. You're sharing content, but there's a theme, there's a story, there's a narrative to it. Mm-hmm. And she obviously has been doing this a very long time, and she said when she was younger, she would develop stories, and her boss or higher ups or producers would be like, yeah, you want 8 minutes and we only have 3 minutes of time for you to give for this project. Do you see yourself, as you grow off of social, do you see your content growing more into that long form scenario, or do you want to stay in that short term, quick bite, quick turn, or do you want to delve into that longer storyline?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a fun line of doing a little bit of both. I love what I'm doing now, and the short form video has been working great for me, but at the same time, definitely want to go into more athlete interviews and longer form, maybe 30 minutes, sit down, one-on-one type of style interviews and one-on-one content. And especially, like I said, stepping into a more traditional host role, those shows are an hour long, if not more. So yeah, long form content is definitely in my future. So I'm excited to get into that more.
Okay, you get who's your long form going to go? Who's your go-to? Greenlit long form interview. Who's Bailey Jackson Sports taking as their first guest?
Okay, I had this question not too long ago, so I've kind of had time to think about my answer a little bit. I think I really would
speak this into existence for you. So choose carefully here. We're gonna manifest this, speak it into existence. Okay. Let's get it out there.
Oh, now you're making me think. Hold on.
She's like, I have to choose.
If I'm going to manifest this, it's got to be the right person. Okay, let's hear it.
Okay. I'm just going to go with my original answer, Richard Sherman. I think he would be a super fun personality to have. After that whole "I'm just here so I don't get fined" thing, I want to talk to him so bad. Even though he's a retired athlete at this point, I think he'd be so fun to have. Especially, I would want to sit down with the athlete, not this isn't exclusive to one, it doesn't need to be this way, but I'm just saying if the athlete doesn't have a platform already, that makes it more desirable to have them on, on a show. Because LeBron, for example, like I said, I would love to interview LeBron. It's not, I'm not going to exclude him by any means, but it's he has the shop, he's the shop uninterrupted, that whole platform. It's he's telling his story on there. He's, sharing the little bits about his life on his own platform. So it's what is he going to give me that he hasn't already said? So I'm trying to find those athletes that are you know what I mean?
That where you're I want to share someone else that is kind of new to this game and break them into this space, which is so interesting, because I think most people in that position would be I want LeBron, I want KD, I want Kyrie, I want the biggest, baddest. And you're sitting here saying I want the best story, but then I also want someone who's kind of unknown. I want to go find the next, right?
Right.
For you, are you going to delve into women's sports at all? Do you delve into women's sports, or are you just strictly men's sports?
Yeah, I talk about women's college basketball, WNBA a lot. That was a huge focus, especially when I started with FanDuel. It was strictly WNBA content for them. I love talking about women's sports. I think there is a huge gap in the amount of content that is produced, as opposed to men's sports. So there needs to be more voices that are talking about whether it's basketball, soccer, gymnastics, volleyball, hockey. I just did a piece on a women's hockey player at University of Wisconsin who just made the U.S. national team, and she's the first Black woman to do so. So doing more stories like that. Yeah. So that's the thing, is people don't know about, these stories that are just kind of maybe get a little bit of coverage, but don't get the coverage they deserve. So, I want to be able to be that voice to share the story. And, whether it's large scale, smaller scale, looking at a collegiate athlete or even a high school athlete, continuing to amplify women's sports and, be the one that's telling those stories.
And that's kind of what was leading actually into my next question. What's your favorite content to create? I know you mentioned the story in Baltimore and you're kind of talking about, these players, these athletes, but do you like to tell stories that are like more kind of, I guess, humanizing players and athletes, or is it kind of like interesting things that people may not know about them? Or what's like your favorite story or content to push out?
Yeah. What initially got me interested in sports reporting was athlete profiles and learning more about who they were outside of their sport. Especially like football. Like you look at players on the field, they have their like helmet on, face mask, big bulky pads, right? Like you don't really know who they are underneath all of that, right? And it's like you may not see their face at all during the game. And I like putting, one, obviously like a name to a player, more than just the name on the back of their jersey. But then you put in a deeper story behind it, right? It's like everybody has a background, everybody has a cool story to tell, a past, maybe they're doing impactful work off the field or off the court or whatever. So, definitely more of that humanizing an athlete. That's the focus majority of the time. I really like to do stories too that make people talk. Like I want to get people fighting in the comments. Like that's really like the vibe that I'm going for now. It's like
she's a pot stirrer. She's like, I want to just I'm gonna light this fire, and I'm just gonna watch
that's
it
great.
Go. But I love it because you're creating a conversation, and you're giving people the platform to have a conversation, a healthy one, hopefully. But that's wild. She's like, I like the comments. Keep them coming. I'm making money, and I'm going to keep stirring this pot. Let me get this little dial out and turn up the heat just like a little bit. Right. A little bit more. You're 23, right? You're 23. You have had Bailey Jackson Sports for 2 years, you said, right?
Yeah, just a little, about a year and a half. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. And what for you is the dream? Is it to build the Bailey Jackson Sports empire? Or is the dream to use this platform, tighten up your skills, create a space for yourself, and then transition Bailey Jackson Sports to an ESPN, to a Fox Net, to a sports network? Or maybe the answer is you don't know, and that's fine too. But what is the goal with Bailey Jackson Sports? Not Bailey Jackson herself, but with Bailey Jackson Sports.
Right. That's a good question. It's something I've been thinking about a lot lately. Considering the work that I put into it now, I definitely don't want to just like abandon it and, go to ESPN or, go to some large network and be like, all right, like Bailey Jackson Sports is just like a showcase page of what I'm doing over there. I still want to cater to it in some way, shape, or form. So it may just be like a healthy combination of, hey, this is what I'm doing at, some major corporation, whether it's ESPN, whether it's, Fox Sports, whomever. But then still, coming on and doing my, little stories, from time to time, still doing that short form content. But yeah, I don't know. I honestly don't know what that's going to look like. I think it also kind of depends on whatever contract I sign says I can do, because I know there's some exclusivity and what those contracts will allow me to do and, not to do. So, I think it's just a matter of time to honestly figure it out. In the perfect world, I would still be able to do my short form content, maybe like not as frequently, maybe on a scaled back version, handful of, times a week, and then be in that, hosting role that we talked about. Maybe be the next Maria Taylor or Carrie Champion, or Malika Andrews on TV. But yeah, it's just a time will tell type of thing.
No, that's awesome. That's one thing, especially with like my company, right? It's I think about am I the company or am I just a part of the company, right? And so even as like a female, it's like, I don't know, maybe the universe has different plans for me, and just being open to it and using every opportunity to advance myself, but advance the cause and the purpose, I think is so important. Who, when you were growing up, who were some women you saw on TV or saw in the space that you're in that kind of influenced and pushed you down this direction?
Yeah. Growing up, because I wasn't like in the mindset or headspace of, I want to be a sports reporter, there wasn't anyone that I was like, okay, like I want to be them when I grow up. But I do remember seeing a lot of like Doris Burke, Sage Steele. There's a name that is spacing me right now. Oh, Lisa Salters. like seeing them on TV telling their stories or doing their segments. Now I still look to them as inspiration, but I really like what Taylor Rooks is doing, and I think she does an amazing job.
She's fantastic.
Yeah, she
amazing. Ashley Nicole Moss is another individual that I pull a lot of inspiration from. She was previously with I Am Athlete and I believe Sports Illustrated before. And she does a really good job at being true to herself and expressing her individuality and like not compromising that for the sake of the job that she's in. So I love that, looking at her and drawing inspiration from that. So yeah, those are just a few names that have inspired me recently or, just kind of remember growing up. But yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of amazing women out there that I pull inspiration from on a daily basis. It's not limited to, those 5 women right there.
Right. And I'm just curious because I know we talked about like your background with like marketing and everything, but did you play sports growing up? I know you had ESPN on in the background and stuff, but obviously you must have had a little love for the game of something, one sport, maybe a few.
Yep. It was a little bit of everything growing up. So I started in like gymnastics and dance. And then soccer was my thing for a bit. Stuck with basketball for a while. I was like abnormally tall when I was younger. I feel like I'm tall to this day. I'm 5'8", so I'm going to say I'm tall.
You're tall, yeah.
Yeah. I like to pretend I'm tall. So I was playing basketball for a while. And then once I got to middle school, I was like, okay, maybe basketball's not in the cards for me. So I started playing golf. And that became my sport. Yeah. So
my college roommate, shout out to my college roommates, played golf. And women's golf is one of the biggest places for scholarships. Like unused scholarships is in women's golf. Yeah. Which is amazing. But they all played golf. I'm really good at putting. I'm really good at putting.
That's good. The
other stuff in the middle, I don't know. It's because you just spend so much time with them. You just, around the house, you learn to putt. So putt golf is my friend.
You got
Real
it.
Golf,
maybe not.
Might not be so much. So you took up golf.
Yeah. So I started playing when I was younger. I think like around 7 or 8, my dad would take me out on the course, maybe let me play a hole or two. And then that turned into like, okay, let's play 9. Let's play 18. Let's take lessons. And then from there, it was like, okay, like, maybe we'll put you in this like little junior league over the summer around Indianapolis. By the time I got to high school, I was playing the number one spot on our varsity team all 4 years.
Wow.
And like, yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I wasn't too bad at it, which was good. It was in my favor. But my dad knew that, the fact about the college scholarships. And he was like, you should try to get one, right? And he had even, like, I remember this so vividly. He's like, if you get a full ride for golf for college, I'll buy you whatever car you want, brand new, off the lot. So that was my goal.
Like, say less. I'm going to be at the course every day. I'll be getting my sock tans like you wouldn't believe. Yes.
Oh my God. I had the worst sock tans too. That is so funny that you mentioned that.
My college roommates, it would be like literally pale pasty white. It would look like they had socks on, like Morgan and Rhiannon looked like they had socks on when they didn't. Yeah. That's how defined it was. And it just stayed forever. Like now they don't have it because they're obviously not in college anymore. But the sock tan was,
oh my gosh.
That was impressive.
Yeah, it was the worst. I remember there was like a match. We would always go to eat afterwards, and there was a match we were finishing up. We were going to Steak and Shake. I had to go to the bathroom so bad, and like my whole team came in, and there was something in my like shoe or sock, whatever, and I like pulled my sock down, and it was like night and day. And they're like, they'd never seen a sock tan so bad. I'm like, you guys don't have sock tans like that. And like we were all like showing off our tans in the bathroom with the Steak and Shake. Gosh. It was so funny. But yeah, the sock tans are horrible. Like the glove tans, I'm walking around with like 2 different color hands.
Oh my gosh.
Also, the guys that wear the hats, they always notice, right but there. Like the halfway, when they take their hat off at the end, and you're like, whoa, put it back on, put it back on.
Right. Yeah.
No. What do you think about Tyler? What do you think of, let me ask that question again. What do you think about Tiger leaving Nike?
Oh, it's such an iconic, like the Tiger, Yeah, the Tiger brand when it comes to Nike Golf, like that was just a symbol that like even I remember when I was in Vegas, like my Uber driver had on one of his hats and I was like, "Oh, are you a Tiger fan?" And we struck up a whole conversation about that. So knowing that that brand is not going to exist anymore is sad because it is like 27 years, that's crazy. But he's got to do what he's got to do for himself. Like, it's a business decision at the end of the day. So, hopefully,
there's hope. Maybe it comes back. Kobe left and came back,
Yeah,
Kobe left and
exactly.
came back. So Vanessa brought him back. Now,
right.
What for you is important as young women that want to get into this industry? What are the 3 biggest things that they need to focus on, do, or learn to try and break into this industry? Because I feel like content right now is everybody's just doing content. Everyone's an influencer, and a lot of the influencers don't necessarily stick. It's like a hit it and quit it mentality. You know what I mean? Like they're really hot and flashy, and then they kind of, because the next one's coming. It's just like in sports, right? There's another one coming behind you, and somebody younger and somebody better and faster.
Right.
What do young ladies need to do, as they try and become you?
Yeah. Oh, become me. Wow, that's like a weight to carry.
That's why you're on this whole show. It's all about you and who you are. I mean, that's honestly, Bailey, this is why we have this show, because somebody's looking at you saying, I want to be her. And how, if that young girl looks at you and says, I want to be her, how would you tell her to be her?
Oh gosh. Okay. 3 things. I would say consistency. Like I know we've touched on that a couple of times already, but it's key, honestly. It's like whether it's content, whether it's being a sports reporter, being an anchor, like you just have to get those reps in. Like you just have to continue to develop your skills, grow, and especially when it comes to content, like you have to be consistent. There's no way that you're gonna get the exposure you want or the growth you want if you're posting once a week or even 3 times a week. Like got to put something out every day, if not multiple times a day. 2, don't be afraid to fail. This was one of the biggest pieces of advice I got in college. I think it was maybe within the first couple of weeks of my freshman year. One of my professors said, fail often, fail gloriously, and now I'm forgetting the last thing. I want to say it's fail epically. I don't think that's right. I'm gonna have to go back, fact check on that one. But regardless, the underlying theme is just don't be afraid to fail, because failure leads to success, one. And you have to learn from your mistakes too. It's there's going to be things that you do wrong, and you can't let that get you down, right? You just kind of have to pick yourself back up, see what you did wrong, make sure it doesn't happen again, or just at least understand how to fix it for next time, and keep going. You can't beat yourself up over one thing that goes wrong. And then 3, I think it's just about developing your personal brand too. Is kind of hitting back on the uniqueness point. It's what makes you you, what is your selling factor? Because I that's ultimately what's going to be what people are drawn to, whether that's how you say it, what you say. It's okay, what do you bring to the table that makes you unique? What makes you you? And actually, okay, 4th thing, I think because being a woman in the industry is a little bit more challenging than being a man in the industry, is come with your facts. People are going to doubt your knowledge. People are going to doubt if you know what you're talking about. So come with the receipts, come with all of the
screenshots proof. Pull those things right
exactly.
on that.
Exactly. Come with the proof that you know what you're talking about, so you can go to all the naysayers and let them know literally what the Alabama player is that link, let all the naysayers know. Because people are going to immediately think you're wrong, or what you're saying isn't true, or you don't know what you're talking about just by looking at you. So it's all right, the best skill that you can have is to be knowledgeable, right? And exercise that. So it's do your research, study up, know what you're talking about, and make sure you can back it up with some type of fact, or like I said, receipt, screenshot, picture, whatever you want it to be, but prove the haters wrong. That's the biggest thing.
Falls into that be prepared. Yeah, no, right. Well done. It's be prepared. I think we constantly hear from a lot of guests of a lot of their advice for women in sports is be prepared. Like
Yeah.
be prepared mentally, that you're gonna have to work a little bit harder. But then also just the one thing you can control is your awareness and your knowledge. No one's stopping
Right.
you from learning. No one's stopping you from educating yourself. And so what people do with that is on them. But when you can show up, authentically yourself with a lot of knowledge and prepared, so you're a lot harder to beat. You're a lot harder to question or doubt,
Absolutely.
regardless of how you look, right? This is who I am. And people always say, should you be here? And it's like, no, it's not, should I be here? It's I'm here. And we're all going to sit here at this table and talk about it. And I think that for you being so young and starting this company, you're in such a unique position because you have influence and impact. But then you also still have so many people. I was thinking about All Star, like there's going to be so many people that you listed off your list that inspire you that are going to be right there. And so if I can help you meet them, please let me know if you want to, or to connect you, because I think that meeting and celebrating and you telling them that they inspire you fills their cup and makes them feel purposeful, right? And it also fills your cup because you're getting to meet someone that means so much to you. And this world of crazy, it's like nice and refreshing to be like, I love you for you, and I love what you do when you're a badass and champion other women. And I think that's something that you're going to carry not only in your moment, but through that moment for the girl that meets you in that scenario.
I hope so. Honestly, I really hope so. And I appreciate you being willing to, share your network too. I think that's so important too, especially just like whether it's sports or just business in general. It's like networking is huge. It's sometimes not about what you know, it's who you know. And it's like that's one thing that I've realized from the start. It's like establishing these connections, and not just connections, but relationships. It's like, follow up with that person, build on that moment that you met them, whether it's like at All-Star weekend or just, at a random brunch, or maybe it's a quick introduction like Shaq, just follow up on it, and, see how that relationship can develop. And I think, that's, like I said, whether it's sports, business, whatever you're in, you're a doctor, like a relationship or, a network is only going to make your, profession and your life stronger and, easier to, continue navigating through.
You can also take counsel from people who've been where you want to go. And
True.
I think that is the beauty of us women coming together, is there's so many people that have been before you and so many people that are going to come after you. And so leaning on the people before you to then pay it forward to the people after you. I mean, that's really what Her Table is all about, right? It's all about celebrating and elevating women in sports, because I'm a big believer in there's going to be a lot more. You're going to take over. Taylor Rooks isn't going to do this forever. I am not going to do this forever. And so creating a space, lane, and conversation for you guys to be able to do that, I think is just, listen, you started your own company well before I even knew what I could even do in my entire life. And I'm still figuring that out on the daily. Your parents just have to be so proud of you. Do you have brothers and sisters? Do you have younger brothers and sisters? Are you the oldest?
No, I'm the only child, actually. Yeah.
Then they're super proud.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah.
So proud. No, I don't. They are. They 100% are.
100%. Yeah.
I mean, that's just wild. It's so
yeah.
amazing.
They're very
If you weren't
supportive.
doing this, what would you be doing? I'd be working at Starbucks. I might go tomorrow.
So, okay, funny story. Actually, well, I don't even know if you count this funny, but I have a full-time job outside of working in sports. Yes.
Okay. What do you do? Tell us. Where can we find you?
I work for a company called Medline. It's a healthcare supply chain. And I am, it's like very synonymous with what I'm doing with my sports page. So I'm doing social media for them. So I'm the organic social media specialist for Medline. And so it's like all corporate accounts, like looking at their LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. That's pretty much what I handle. So yeah, that's my 9 to 5. I do that every single day. Go into the
full-time
office
job
on
and
Tuesday,
this?
Thursday. Yep.
So
yeah.
good. That's impressive. Wow.
Yeah. So that's what I would probably be doing. Like that would be it is my full-time focus. Like I don't want Medline to think that I'm not giving them my all, but
they're not coming for you. If they don't celebrate you for this, then we'll I'll talk to them. Yes.
And they're very
Same.
supportive too. Like they know about my sports page. They a couple of my coworkers follow, so I do appreciate them for giving me the flexibility to build on this. But yeah, I'd probably be just wanting to like just focus on that, which I don't want them to think that I'm not focusing on it full time, because I definitely am, but like that would be my like real main focus for like ever. So I love
Well,
that
it's still
job.
in the same like wheelhouse of what you're in,
Yeah.
right? It's
Right.
it's still the same thing. It's social, it's content creating, it's storytelling. It's just through a different lens. And I think that's what's amazing is when you have that tool in your tool belt, you know, if you fast forward that, you can take those tools when you work with brands, because they are a corporation, they are doing all of those things. So you can apply that and kind of sharpen your tool belt in that way and just kind of be more multifaceted as you grow and progress throughout your career. So girl, that is just how many guests, Megan, do we have on the show that are like, I started here and I went here and then I pivoted and I did like a roundabout, like in London, they have those like, you know, those little roundabouts, just did a roundabout. And then I went the other way to see what happened over there.
Every single one, I feel like.
Yeah. I mean, even myself, even Megan,
Yeah.
like, you know, it's
Yeah.
not, none of this was all by design. It's the universe's design. We're just living it out every day until we're told what to do next. And I think that's what's so special. But you're just, honestly, I'm so inspired by you. I can't wait to meet you
Same.
in a couple
Oh,
weeks.
thank
I can't wait to
you.
meet
Yeah,
and then you're gonna
I'm
have to
so
give me a
excited.
class. Can you come give me and Megan a class? Like, we need a class, okay?
Yeah.
The social
help
media
us.
master class.
Yeah, just
Yes.
how to make like reels, TikToks, like all that fun stuff. I think maybe we're just like we did make one. Meg and I am gonna post the one of like, did you miss us? We're here. It
Yeah.
only took us like 6 takes to make, but I'm
Yeah.
like,
It might be not
this
as
is-
trendy anymore, but that's okay.
I know.
No,
it's
I know
fine.
exactly what sound you're talking about. You'll do well, I promise you.
Please,
Do it.
and people are probably like, no, we didn't miss you. Go back where you were. Like, please, no.
Yeah, we'll have to make some TikToks at All-Star Weekend then. That should
Okay,
be a goal.
done.
Oh,
Done. Okay, I'm
we
gonna do
go.
it. Challenge accepted. You're gonna have to make me do it because I'm gonna get nervous and be like, this
Okay.
is so embarrassing. I can't
Yeah,
do
no, we
this.
just
and you're gonna be like,
full
no.
send
You're gonna
it.
have to do it.
Yeah.
I love it. Megan's gonna be watching this and she's like, okay, you need to stop. Kate, you need to
no,
stop.
I'll be
Nope,
your
take it
biggest
off, take it off.
supporter. Are you kidding me? Stop. No, I'm the biggest fan. I'll be commenting all positive engagement, but any engagement is positive. So there you go.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for spending time with us today. I want to grab, Meg, let's grab a quick picture real quick.
Okay.
We forgot
Yes.
to do it. We always forget. I always try and do it at the beginning and then I forget.
You do.
Of us. And then we'll use it. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Perfect. We'll use it and we'll get it over to you. But yeah, I mean, listen, keep kicking ass, girl. Keep doing it. Do your thing and don't let anything stop you.
I appreciate it.
Don't.
I appreciate
and just
it.
remember that Bailey Jackson is a person.
Yeah.
Right? And that is
Yeah.
your life. Right?
Right.
And you do
Right.
this for a job, but Bailey Jackson is a person. And because this industry will eat you up, girl.
Right.
It will. It's hard, it's fast paced, and make sure that you're not missing moments in your life for someone else's life. That's my only, I say this
Yeah.
to Megan. I give
Yeah.
Megan the same counsel. Because I'm much older. I'm much older than you cute little girls. Young ladies, I shouldn't say little girls. But just enjoy, I shouldn't say little girls. That sounds so derogatory. Take that out, Meg.
Yeah.
These you guys are just beautiful young women.
Thank you.
But just
So
live
sweet.
your life. Enjoy what you do, you know?
Yeah.
But know that it's not who you are. It's just what you
Right.
do.
Right.
Right?
No,
Do
I
it.
appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Listen,
And I
she's-
appreciate you guys for having me on here too. This
Oh my
was
gosh,
amazing.
Yes,
Good.
thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
Hopefully
I
we made
had
it
some fun.
easy. We tried.
Oh, yeah.
Usually we do this in studio, and so we'll have to have you, if you're out in California, we'll have to have you out to the studio.
Yeah.
Or if you come out to Summer League, you definitely should come out to Summer League
Yeah.
and do some stuff there. You know, we'd love to help you. Even from my side, you know, my players are out there. You can sit down with every single one of them. I'd go for it. Do it. But I also think it'd be fun for you to get some of these younger athletes. And Megan works at NFL Network, so she knows all the good ones. out
Okay.
there.
Nice.
Of just
Awesome.
yeah, you got both. You got NFL, NBA, so it'll be a new
Yeah.
resource for you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, anywhere I can get like tapped in, plugged in with, especially when it comes to like athlete interviews, that's been like the biggest challenge for me. Is like I've been building off my personal network, but it's like I don't want to miss business and personal like a little too much. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, can I have an interview? And then it's like I was like afraid to be like, hey, do you want to go to dinner? Like, you know what I mean? Like I just don't want it to be like too overlapping. So, but yeah, I mean, like I said, that's been a struggle for me. It's just like getting people in chairs, getting butts in chairs, especially with my crew being in Indy, like my production crew is in Indy and everything. So I need to figure out like just getting people out here, all of that's just a challenge. So I appreciate like you guys being willing to plug me in with people and all of that.
Then you teach us how to do reels and we'll help you on the other side.
Yeah, there you
We're gonna
go.
make this world go around, okay?
Yeah, right. No, I got you. I got you on the social media side. If you ever need anything,
Oh, we
just
need
hit
all
me
the
up.
help. We need all the help. It's fine. I told you I'm old. I need all the help. All the help. No. Well,
No, I
thank you so
gotcha.
much. You've been amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, sounds
Bye,
good.
Bailey.
Bye, guys.
Bye, Bailey.
Well, I loved having Bailey Jackson on the show today. She was such an inspiration for so many people. I mean, she's 23 years young and she's literally crushing the game. She's been a content creator for a year and a half and she's already grown so much from when she first started to where she is now. And I love how even she's like watching her stuff back and she's like, oh, I was not good here and I've gotten so much better, and she's just so fun. And it's like, it's really cool seeing, people like Bailey live out their dream and work a full-time job and still be able to push out content like she's doing.
I thought it was amazing to hear her here. She got this job right out of college that she was so excited about. And then 6 weeks into it, gone, dissolved the whole position. And how that could have been an opportunity for her to be like, this sucks. What am I going to do? It was more like a, okay, and moment for her. And she kind of flipped it on its head. And I think that's for her really what's driving her is she's creating a space and a niche that is unique to her. And I loved when she talked about how she got feedback that said, you need to be in front of the camera. We need to be able to put a voice to a voice and a name together.
Yeah.
And she was uncomfortable with it. She was scared. And then she kind of got past it. And she was like, okay, this isn't that bad. And I think for her finding what she's doing purposeful and well received and respected, she wants and craves that respect. And I think we all do. And I think every single one of us has that little bit of fear that we have to overcome to be able to put ourselves in a better place to perform professionally.
Absolutely. And I think for her too, having, the idea that she was getting into marketing and that was her career path and then mixing it up and changing it. We always talk about how our guests have a certain path. And then it's like, wait, actually I like this more. And something that was so cool for her, she's 23 years young and she's already getting brand deals, getting flown out to Vegas. How cool is that for her? I love that for her.
Well, I love learning how the brand deals work because I always see them and it's like, I'm on a brand trip. And I'm like, okay, well, what it really is a brand trip. But for her, she went and she got to meet so many people that are in the same space or a different space that she can draw from and lean and kind of network into. And I thought it was really cool listening to her talk about how, Taylor Rooks is somebody she looks up to, but she grew up watching, Doris Burke. So I think that getting all the women in this space from whether that's media, production, content, on air, they all kind of have the same thing, which is just work really hard. Part of her thing she said about being really prepared. Be prepared, have the knowledge to back up what you're asking everybody to believe you in, I think is really strong and powerful for a 23-year-old to say. And it takes her 30 minutes to create a video that would take us hours to do. I mean,
yeah.
I need to learn. But I loved having her on. She's an exciting guest. I can't wait to see what she does next. I think the sky's the limit for her and her influence that she has. I think she is unaware of how impactful it is to so many young women. So I'm so excited we got to share her story today here on Her Table. That's it for us this week. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure you guys subscribe. Let us know who you want to see. Let us know your comments. Let us know what you think. We can't wait to share these stories with you each and every week here at Her Table. That's it for us. We'll see you guys soon.